Hey, welcome everyone to our December 3rd webinar. And we're so pleased to be here with you. Are you seeing my slides?
Yes, but it would be good to be able to put it in presenter mode.
Yes, I'm having a little issue with that. Okay, let's see. There we go.
Perfect, Una.
Okay, great. Excellent. Yes, we were just speaking before we got started here about, we know how busy all of you are. And so we appreciate you joining us for this really important webinar where we're going to talk about what's coming up this spring and then an opportunity to meet with your coaches. With the one of our teams is going to be meeting with their coach at another time. So we will, that is fine as well, but I know 7 of the teams are going to be meeting today. So as I mentioned, program updates today, talking about the winter workshops. And James, I'm going to rely on you and other of the program team to, if there's questions that come up in the chat window, to please interrupt me when I discuss the program updates.
Absolutely.
And the winter workshops. All right, I think you know this cast of characters here, but we are very pleased to all be working with you this year on the Open for Anti-Racism program. I wanted to mention that the Community College Consortium for OER, that Liz and I are part of that consortium, has a great webinar coming up this Wednesday at noon, if it fits into your schedule. It's going to feature 3 students. 2 of them are from community colleges and one's from a state university. And they're from kind of across the country, talking about OER and how they perceive it from their end, and how it's impacted their journeys and its relevance during the pandemic. So we're excited to offer that freely to everyone in the open education community. And there's a link here if you would like to sign up. And we post all of these webinars, the recordings after the fact on our homepage of cccoer.org. So if that works better for you, please join us then. All right, I want to turn it over to those amazing course facilitators that you just saw their face. Joy and Maritez, I know that you're here today. I believe Kim is out, so take it away.
Thanks, Una. Hi, everyone. It's really lovely to be with you all and see your faces. I can't believe we are approaching the end of the course. Time is flying, but it's been really fabulous learning from each of you. So we just wanted to, I know we're approaching the end of the course and we're going to be wrapping up soon. So Maritez and I are here to just provide some updates, but of course, we will stay in communication with you all as we're wrapping up the course, but just so you're kind of aware of what to expect. And, we encourage you, of course, to just communicate with us. We understand, life is hectic and crazy, so just keep in contact with us. So in terms of grades, we are not, and I think, hopefully you all know by now that we're not grading your assignments. We really just appreciate your thoughtful contributions and your reflections. So we just want to remind you, though, that, part of the process of moving through the program is completing. And so with that, you'll see in your Canvas grade book check marks if we've gone in and marked the activity as received and complete. So if you notice a dash for an assignment or, something remains unchecked, make sure that you have actually submitted that assignment. It could be the case, especially for some of the group work. We love all the ways that you all are collaborating together. So it could be just a case that we didn't recognize in the first submission that you had, completed that assignment. So if you notice anything that looks a little off, just let us know and we'll go back. But we're also kind of catching up and we're going through the grade books again. So, we'll be wrapping that up as well. But just know that you do want to submit something for the assignments, for the activities. so that you can complete those activities. And we were intentional and thoughtful with the activities that we placed and where we placed them. So we are hoping that you do get something out of participating and completing each of them. I think I'm going to pass it on over to Marie-Thèse, who's going to talk about the course completion and your action plans.
Joy. Hello, everyone. Congratulations on making it to the last module in the course. Yes. As Joy was sharing, we are making sure that everyone is completing all of the assignments. So if you go to the grades area of the course and you see that there's anything that's incomplete or missing, you'll want to make sure that you turn those into completes so that you can officially complete the whole entire course. And so you'll see at the very bottom of modules, the last item there is, it's called course completion, and it has some confetti next to it. And that is actually you don't have to submit anything for that. It really is a place for us as the facilitators to indicate your successful completion of the course. So there won't be any confusion around, did I finish the course? Or did I not finish the course? We will mark that as complete to indicate your successful completion of the entire course. So that's what that is. And then one note about your action plans, and that's, hopefully you've all seen the template, and we don't want you to think that you have to do everything that's listed in the set of questions on the template. Okay, it's not like do all of these. It's really kind of more of a laundry list for you to like flesh out, well, how do you want to craft your action plan and how does this fit into what you want to implement in the spring? So there's a bunch of ideas there for you, but don't think you need to actually address every single one. Center your plan around anti-racism and leverage OER and open pedagogy at the level that you find yourself. Okay, so I just wanted to clarify those couple things before we head off into module 5, the last module.
Great. Thank you so much, Marie-Thèse and Joy. And are there any questions that people could unmute if you have a question or use the chat window?
No questions in the chat.
All righty. All right. Well, anytime. All right. Open licensing reminder. So I did want to remind you that as part of our funding model from the Hewlett Foundation, materials that you produce as part of the OFAR program, there is a requirement to have an open license on those. And these are the materials developed by you solely. They could be adaptations of other materials, but in a moment, I'll explain the distinction there. So last year, our cohort made available their syllabus and course materials. I'm sorry, particularly either their anti-racist assignment or modules with an open license so that those can be browsed by other educators who are looking for those kind of materials. So that is a requirement of the Hewlett Foundation's open education program. Now, we know some of you will be creating with your students in collaboration, and that's a decision that you and your students will be making. We don't want to force that. Of course, there's some students who have legitimate security concerns where they don't want to have their materials publicly available, even in an education repository. So I think the sensitivity around that is important, but the syllabus and your anti-racist module or assignment, we do ask that those be openly licensed, and you'll have an opportunity to either upload those to the repository or share within some other way at the end of the spring semester. So I know you had a module week 3, I believe, was the OER licensing week, and where you found out about OER, and there's going to be a lot more support in January around that. but I wanted to ask if you had any questions at this point about what this might mean. Anything in the chat window that I should know about, James?
No questions in the chat.
Okay, yeah, so this is.
I have one question.
Oh, good. Go ahead.
And I'm not, I don't know. Why is, so at the bottom there, it says that CCBY is preferred. Why is that preferred over the CCBY NC, the no money making one?
Okay, and who's asking the question? I'm sorry, I can't see.
Apologies, this is Jeff Newby.
Oh, hi, Jeff. Yes, well, the preference for CC BY is that it makes it easier to reuse. So if you're remixing materials, it gets quite tricky. There's a matrix that Creative Commons, who is the nonprofit organization that created these and supports these around the world, put together. So when you're trying to put materials in that, when you're trying to mix materials with different licenses, it gets pretty complicated. So the CC BY makes it easy in the sense that you can mix a CC BY in with any other Creative Commons license in that sense, because it's the least restrictive. So that's why it is. Okay, and Amy's got a question.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry, was that Jeff, did that help?
Yeah, that was very helpful. Thank you.
This is James. If I can just piggyback on that one. For
Please.
those of you who have kids or yourself like to play with Legos, think about how easily Legos, one set of Legos can mix with another set of Legos. But then you get those off-brand building blocks and the little pegs and the blocks, they don't quite fit right together. And for me, it's kind of frustrating. CC BY as a license is sort of the Lego standard, particularly in education and the nonprofit world. So by using a different license, which you're certainly permitted to do as the creator, exercise your agency, but by using one of the other licenses, you're kind of bringing in an off-brand block, and it doesn't always fit smoothly with the Lego blocks.
Yeah, thank you, James. I think that's a great metaphor. And Amy, go ahead.
Hi everyone. Sorry, I'm gonna probably leave my camera off. I got my booster shot yesterday for the vaccine, and I'm actually having a bit of a reaction to it. So I'm a little under the weather, but my question was this regarding OER materials. So, for example, in my OER, I guess, sample or kind of template that I posted into the module, I actually just reached out and got permission to use what is normally a copyrighted image. And one of the things I found for the way that I'm kind of structuring my OFAR projects and action plan is that I might run into this because I want to highlight other people's research. And a lot of people, generally, especially scientists, are pretty open about letting their stuff be used in a educational capacity. But I guess what I'm wondering is, I want to make sure that their copyright is protected insofar as if I'm reprinting it with permission, I don't know if I can just use the CCBY label.
Yeah, that's a great question, Amy. And we do have some folks who have faced that before. Now, I am not certified on this. I don't know if we have any folks who've actually taken the certification, but what we have done in the past with OER like that is you will publish it with the license that you choose, and we prefer the CC BY, but you will say there with exception. And that means that you personally had permission to reuse that image, but unless they give, permission to all educators, or they're willing to put an open license on it, you would need to make sure that whatever your resource is, that you specify that there are exceptions within this resource, and you would put in that underneath that image. I don't know if James or if we've got any librarians on today who want to help out with that and be a little more specific.
This is James. I understand as much as you do about that one. I wonder if Aloha has any insight.
Oh, yes, Aloha. Yes.
Yeah, hi. I agree that if you're creating that, I can like copy and paste the verbiage that I used on my OER, but basically you can license it and then put, as you were noting, like unless otherwise noted after your license. So, you know, this material is licensed CC BY 4.0, except where otherwise noted, I think was the verbiage I used. And then if you just clearly note below, below the resource, what the, you know, I mean, it's pretty common, to be honest, because like in an OER textbook, for example, there might be like some YouTube videos embedded, but those are not OER. Those are not CC BY YouTube videos, you know, they're just freely available. So yeah, does that help?
Thank you, Aloha. Yeah, I think it does. And I know that Joy and her team are, at least one of the workshops is specifically on this, right, Joy? So they get to answer all the tough questions. Thank you, Joy. All right, and there may be more questions, but we're going to move on just because we want to give you, we want to hopefully give you half of this time in your team meetings. And so we don't want to take up a huge amount of time. So I think, you know, December is waning quickly. And our course facilitators here just discussed with you what the faculty action plan, you know, completion dates and so forth and submitted. In mid-December, Liz will send out a call for invoicing, and you're welcome to invoice after that time for that first section of your contract. And so you'll get detailed directions on how to do that. But of course, it is pending that you have submitted your action plan, and it's been peer reviewed, I believe, at that point, and that you have completed the course. So, all right. So I wanted to get into the January piece just a little bit. We talked about this about 2 weeks ago at our last meeting, but on January, so here's what January looks like. First of all, you'll be meeting with your peer groups, with your coach. And I think there's a monthly reflection associated with January as well. And then there's 2 required workshops, one on the 14th and one on the 21st. Those are the 2 middle Fridays of January. And then during that same week on the other days, Monday through Thursday, there will be these OER nuts and bolts workshops. And I hope many of you will be able to attend some of them. And Joy's team has, her team on staff at College of the Canyons has done a wonderful job in terms of providing morning and afternoon types of sessions. So hopefully that will fit for everyone's schedule who needs it. And I just wanted to go into a little bit of detail about these webinars that are occurring in January. These are required workshops. One is creating a sense of belonging for students. And so there's been research showing that student retention and success for underrepresented students can really be improved through careful construction of course elements, including the syllabus, assigned readings, you know, assignments, and OFAR, of course, is really a demonstration project around that, right, for anti-racism. And so we are lucky to have Dr. Amy Nussbaum. She's a psychology professor and researcher up in Washington State who has published research on this, and she'll be working with you on revising your syllabus. So she'll share the research, and then you'll get to go into breakouts and look at your syllabi together and decide if you want to do some revisions based on what you've heard that day. So any questions about that? Oh, go ahead, Bucky. I hope I got that correct. Yeah.
Yes, you did, absolutely. I was wondering, this is a little bit, I mean, it's a moot point, but our PCC semester starts January 10th now. So unfortunately, this workshop is going to be a little bit late for next semester, but I guess we'll certainly be happy to learn. I'm sure I will be happy to learn and hear about stuff,
Yeah.
because obviously I'll be creating my syllabus long before.
Yeah, well, thank you for that, Becky. So is this your spring semester or is this like your
It's our spring semester. We've eliminated winter this year, so.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. Now, there's a link here on the slides and you'll have these slides. In fact, somebody can post them now. Whoever posts them in the chat window, make sure you turn off editing because we'd rather not have them edited after this meeting. But I've linked here to Dr. Amy Nussbaum's research. So you could read that ahead of time if that was helpful, Bucky, maybe over the break or something, and take a look at that as well and get a little preview. And I will ask Joy and Meritez if we can post that in the course as well. Some of her research, and she had some additional reading that she wanted to provide to people who had the time to read before. It's not a requirement. So thank you for sharing that with us, Becky. I was unaware of that. And then January 21st, that Friday, we're going to have the OER Commons team. And I think many of you who've done OER before, and I know there's quite a few of you who have been involved in OER, know that that is one of the central repositories for open educational resources nationally, probably internationally as well. And so their team, a team of two folks, Megan Simmons and Mindy Boland, will be joining us, and we'll talk about how to, whoops. I'm sorry, this has we'll be modifying their course. Okay, yes, I'm sorry. So they will be sharing best practices for licensing your OER. So this will be a little bit of a repeat on licensing in OER Commons, because when you upload, you'll say what your license is, and they'll show you how you can upload your syllabus and your assignment / module at the end of the spring semester. I know we may have to have them come back at the end of the spring, but at least you'll be aware of this repository, and they'll show you how to browse it, because I know many of you are probably still looking for materials for your courses, and this is a great repository to get familiar with. And if you can create a free account beforehand, that would be super. Okay, I'm going to turn this over to Joy to very briefly touch on the nuts and bolts workshops coming up.
Sure, thanks, Una. So College of the Canyons has a team, a small but mighty team of current and former students that work with our faculty to support them with OER adoption, OER creation. So our team is available to all of you as you're moving through this process of implementing your plans. And we figure you might already have some questions, but you might have some questions about, for example, where to even find, like, where are repositories to search for existing OER, questions about licensing, especially if you're trying to determine a license to apply to work you've created, or maybe if you're in the process of kind of remixing. And as we were discussing earlier, what license should you apply if you're using multiple sources? So the team will be available to answer some questions. Also, another one on demystifying remix. So again, some of those questions that we were addressing earlier about what it looks like to combine multiple resources to create something new for yourself. And then lastly, all about attributions, which is, how to give proper credit, proper citation, if you will, to other work that you might be adopting and utilizing. So the team at College of the Canyons will be available to host some workshops and also answer questions. As you see here, they're all the same workshops, but they're just offering it twice. So once kind of middle of the day and then another a little bit later in the day. But also, if you have questions as you're moving through the process of adoption, the team is available outside of these workshop times. We just wanted to kind of identify maybe the 4 of the big topics that you might have questions surrounding, and they're available there. But I'm always happy to connect you with the team as well to help you answer questions or support you through the implementation process.
Thank you, Joy. That's really wonderful that it also is on demand throughout spring semester. All right, James, I think it's
There's
over.
one question that came up in the chat. Are
Oh.
there any links available to sign up for these workshops?
So yes, there was links for the Friday webinars that were in the slides. Joy, I think you did share one with us, but I didn't have it handy. So maybe you could put that in the chat when you have a chance, and I'll add it to the slides for later.
Perfect. I'll have to either add it to the slides. I don't know off the top of my head, but either way, we will make sure we communicate the Zoom links out for these.
Yes, and that's a good point, because all of this will be in the event and records button, which we'll talk about in just a moment. So James, I want to turn it over to you so we can whip through this stuff.
Thank you. And just one more note about the OER workshops that Joy was just talking about. Those are optional, right? These are optional. If you need it, we've got some support, some additional support. But if you don't need it, hey, move along and do your thing. So next slide then. Thanks, Una. So you're good with the conclusion of the course here in the next week or so. You're going to be moving really into the action plan implementation phase, or thinking about that. You've got these great ideas. You're going to now start planning to implement these ideas. A lot of this information is a reminder. We've got the support for you. Research activities will be taking place throughout the spring. Remember, we will be asking you to distribute a survey to your students. In the near future, we'll be emailing you, or your coaches will be contacting you, asking you what would be the optimum times for distributing surveys for your classes. You will also be asked to complete a survey, asking what have you learned, what's changed during your experience. We will also ask some of you to participate in a research interview, or you will all be invited, but we don't need to interview 40. Some of you will interview a smaller number. We also ask that you share on your campus, at a department meeting, at a professional development workshop, at your equity committee, for example, to share about what you're learning in OFAR. And thinking ahead, please document that. We'll ask for a copy of the agenda or a copy of the handout that you shared. And then around the beginning of June, we'll ask you for a final reflection on the overall experience. So that's sort of the sweep of the spring activity. Next slide, please, Una. Next slide. There we go. There we go. Coming up anytime. Down at the bottom left, I think.
No, mine says institutional impact activities.
There we go. Okay, got it. Okay.
Sorry, they look almost identical.
Yeah, okay, that's my fault. Wow. Okay. So just a note that we do want to understand what kind of impact you're having, or your experience is having on the institution. So you're welcome in the spring to invite others from your campus to participate in the spring webinar series. Your department chairs, your deans would be wonderful. Your institutional research department has already been contacted by our researchers requesting the data, and through the application process, we really hammered the importance of getting that data. So that conversation is going on behind the scenes right now. We will also ask a small number of the administrators who wrote letters of support for you to participate in interviews as well, about how your participation fits into the larger picture of anti-racist reform at your institution. And then, if it would be helpful for you, this is optional, we are available to do workshops or have conversations, for example, with your equity committee or your academic senate or your deans. So just keep that in mind. And we can do that in person, maybe, sort of depends on COVID, of course. Next slide. And I'm going to watch now. Yes, this is a new slide. Thanks. Just a reminder that the webinars, the bigger webinars to which you're welcome to invite people, will be held at noon on the first Friday of the month. And there's the registration link. And Liz is dynamite about sending out reminders of these webinars, along with a reminder of the registration link. And
yeah, we're really excited about some of the speakers we've got lined up, but we don't have that list finalized yet for the February through May. But we will let you know as soon, probably in January. We
Yeah,
will.
they're good ones for sure.
Yeah.
And a reminder that we record and upload everything. Oh, thank you, Mary Tess, for putting the registration in the chat. And then a reminder that we record and upload everything, so you can find those in the OFAR course, links to everything in the OFAR course. Again, thanks to Mary Tess for putting that together for us. Yeah, let's move on. And I think in the interest of time, let's move on from the questions. And reminder also that the recordings of the participant showcases from last year are all on the CCC OER website. So last month you heard about the wonderful work that Oliver and Hasna and Deborah and Anna did last year. You can also see what the rest of their cohort did last year if you're interested in some inspiration. Next slide. More links to more resources from last year in case you would like to find more inspiration. And I know we're sort of erring on the side of over communication here. We've shared this before. We want to make sure that you have the ability to find the answers you're looking for. Next slide. And once again, same links that we shared last time, but if you're interested in the larger picture of open education, what's going on, we've got the big resources listed here. So check those out. And now it is time. Yay, we made it. So there is some time we made it. So what we will ask you to do for the remainder of the time is to go into breakout rooms with your coach. Now, Anna Garcia, who is the coach for the Pasadena team, she is not here. We understand she's arranged a time with all of you already. So the Pasadena team, when everybody else goes into the breakout room, you go right ahead and leave the webinar and go on about your Friday. The rest of you, we'd like you to go into the breakout rooms with your coaches, and we suggest the following. First of all, make sure you're saying hi to each other, right? Maybe you haven't had a quote unquote face-to-face or Zoom meeting yet, so make sure you say hi to each other. Share or review what the winter and spring looks like. If you have any questions about the calendar that we just shared or concerns, your coach might not know all the answers, but your coach can certainly bring those back to us. Very important is that you create a plan for regular check-in meetings. We strongly encourage you to set dates and set the format. Are you going to be via Zoom? Are you going to have a group text? Are you going to meet some other way? Just do an email meeting. But we really encourage you to set a specific time and date for subsequent meetings. At a minimum, 1 meeting per month during the spring. Some of you might like to have 2 meetings per month. That's perfectly fine. The time frame is January through June. That's what our coaches have been kind enough to commit to in all of our agreements. So, but we do leave that little wiggle room in there as needed. We know that some teams are more familiar with some components and some teams are less familiar with other components. So, really. Express your wishes to your coach, but your coaches should be meeting with you at least 1 time per month. And just a reminder that the last sentence there on the slide in bold, we will not reconvene as a large group after the breakout room. So you're going to go into the breakout rooms, and once you're done in the breakout room, then go on about your Friday and hopefully get your work done this Friday and go on and enjoy your weekend. Any questions about how this is going to work? So I think, Una, you've got the breakout room set up.